Hey there guys, what's up? So, it all started about 2 days ago when I began leveling a Sorcerer character to test out a damage over time fire build. The campaign was going great, I could progress quickly without any issues. However, when I reached level 70 something and started empowering monoliths, the fire dot build became underwhelming. My conclusion was that it was a build I would never touch again, mainly because I was frustrated with how slow Ignite was at killing enemies despite applying a bazillion stacks. So, I decided to completely switch and test a Spark Charge Spellblade build that had been nudging at my subconscious for a while as I read about spells and items from my other builds. When you read certain nodes in the Mana Strike skill tree or the bonus damage to spark charges from melee skills in the Fragment of the Enigma, you immediately think, alright, there's a build. However, there is a reason why I initially ignored those whispers in my head. I didn't want to create a build that was essentially a Lightning Blast Runemaster in disguise. But eventually here we are, and yes, this is indeed a Lightning Blast Runemaster in disguise. That's why I'm framing this build description as a comparison rather than just a straightforward guide. However, if you enjoy my videos and find them entertaining, I would greatly appreciate it if you could consider dropping a like and subscribing to my channel. Now let's enjoy a bit more gameplay before we go back blabbing. And I'm back. So, to get a bit more into the build, here are my skill trees and passive trees so that you can take a look at them and eventually copy them if interested. I won't explain them one by one this time because it's exhausting and kind of pointless in this case. I will drop a link to an endgame planner in the comments if you want to pick this build up. In the meantime, I will also specify that I did not invent this build. There are some old videos about it, but none of them are updated for Season 3, so on the planner you will find a proper updated itemization as well. Now a little bit of focus please, because this is going to be a little fast. The complete mechanic is the following. Mana Strike applies Spark Charges and procs Frostclaw thanks to the Spellblade passive Warden's Echo. Frostclaw procs Lightning Blast on crit thanks to the Dragorath's Claw Dagger, and Lightning Blast can apply again Spark Charge and also make the existing ones explode. As you can see, Mana Strike just acts as a proc, and it's never our main damage source, which will always be Spark Charges. Thus, to scale damage, we focus on added spell damage and stack a ton of intelligence, which will give us extra benefit because of the Vilàtria set and Fragment of the Enigma bonuses. Add to that an ensured 100% crit chance and a ton of crit multipliers slammed on items, and we have a good amount of damage that can carry us through 500 corruption and more. Now you would think that all these shenanigans would actually grant us a competitive advantage over our pure Lightning Blast brothers, right? Wrong. Let me explain. So, when you see this bonus here from the Catalyst, you think, of course, then Spark Charges applied by melee will always do more damage if I use the Enigma. But then you take a look at the Lightning Blast skill tree, and you see that this node here grants an even greater bonus that comes from a spell that is already doing a hell more hit damage. But then you think, alright, but with melee attacks I have such a high chance to apply Spark Charges that every Mana Strike is going to apply even more than one. And with all the attack speed I have for melee, victory is guaranteed. Wrong again. because despite that, Lightning Blast chains on the same target and every chain counts as a hit, and this compensates for its lower Spark Charge application chance. Plus, despite all our melee attack speed, we will never be able to compete with this little overpowered item here, which gives a bazillion fold cast speed bonus to anybody who stacks intelligence. But then you say, okay, but we also autocast Frost Claw that has to count for something, right? Wrong. Lightning Claw is a scam. Base damage is weak, its skill tree multipliers are weak, it doesn't grant any additional chance to apply spark charges, and it's only good if you directly cast it, which we do not. Because then you get access to this part of the tree that basically makes it cast multiple times. The only advantage we have is that we never consume mana, if that counts for something. So in summary, unless you have an addictive affection for the Spellblade, I don't recommend this build over the others. That said, it's still viable for endgame content, 500 plus corruption, normal Aberroth, and rampant coasts. I will also say this. I'm a little disappointed because all these synergies that actually exist and could bring something good and valuable to a build are just a bait to something that eventually becomes a simulation of other builds that do the same thing but more effectively. So my question is, why do these effects even exist? And that'd be all. I'm out. Peace.